Obi vs Umahi, who speaks for Ndigbo ahead of 2027? Welcome to Nigeria Wave. Today we examine a political development that is already generating heated debates across Nigeria, particularly in the southeast ahead of the 2027 presidential election. The conversation is no longer just about who will become Nigeria's next president. It is now evolving into a bigger question: who has the moral authority to speak for the Southeast? Can political leaders tell the people who to vote for, or just voters make that decision entirely on their own? This debate intensified after the Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, openly appealed to the people of the Southeast to reject the presidential candidate of the Nigeria Democratic Party, Mr. Peter Obi, and instead support President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's bid for a second term. However, Umahi's comments have now been challenged by the United Igbo Elders Council Worldwide, popularly known as UNIEC, which insists that no individual, regardless of political office, can dictate the political choice of the Igbo people. Let's break down what happened and why this matters. Senator David Umahi made the remarks while inspecting ongoing federal projects, including sections of the ambitious Cross Rivers Abuja Legacy Highway and other strategic infrastructure projects. Rather than limiting his comments to engineering and road construction, Umahi shifted the discussion into politics. He stated clearly that he was not attacking Peter Obi personally, but was deliberately urging Nigerians, especially people from the southeast, not to vote for Peter Obi. According to Umahi, his support for President Tinubu is based on evidence rather than sentiment. He argued that Tinubu administration has invested heavily in infrastructure across Nigeria, particularly in the southeast, and therefore deserves another 4 years to complete those projects. Umahi admitted that his position has attracted criticisms from many people who believe, as an Igbo politician, he should naturally support Peter Obi, but the minister dismissed the criticism. He said the insults directed at him actually prove that his message is having an impact. According to him, he has no regrets whatsoever. Umahi's central argument revolves around continuity. He warned Nigerians against what he described as taking risk by electing a new administration. According to him, every time a new government takes over, abandoned projects become a major problem because the incoming administration often reviews contracts, renegotiates agreements, or even cancels projects initiated by its predecessor. He argued that re-electing Tinubu would eliminate that uncertainty. In his words, every legacy project currently under construction would be completed without interruption. He pointed specifically to the Enugu-Onitsha Expressway, one of the most economically important highways in the southeast. Umahi said the project would be completed before the end of the year, with reinforced concrete pavements, solar-powered street lighting, and landscaping. He also announced plans to introduce tolling on the road. According to him, the tolls would not simply generate revenue, but would be used to fund road maintenance and provide permanent security patrols along the highway. This, he argued, represents a new model of infrastructure management that ensures roads remain functional long after construction is completed. The minister also highlighted progress on the Cross River Abuja Legacy Highway. He disclosed that the first section of the highway, covering approximately 125 kilometers, is approaching completion. He added that more than 30% of the alignment passes through communities in Ebonyi, creating economic opportunities for residents. Umahi further revealed that contractors have been directed to employ local workers wherever possible so that the host communities benefit directly from the projects through jobs and income. For the second section of the highway, stretching roughly 168 kilometers across Ebonyi, Benue, Enugu and Kogi states, he announced that the federal government has already released 30% mobilization funds to the contractor, allowing construction to proceed. To Umahi, these projects demonstrate that Tinubu administration is correcting what many in the southeast have long described as infrastructural neglect. For decades, complaints about federal presence in the region have centered on poor roads, abandoned projects, and inadequate investment. Umahi believes the current administration is changing that narrative. But while the minister's comments received support from some members of the ruling party, they also sparked immediate backlash from sections of the southeast. One of the strongest reactions came from the United Igbo Elders Council Worldwide. In a statement issued by its Director General, Alpha Justice Ikpeama, the organization rejected the suggestion that anyone could instruct the Igbo people on how to vote. The council emphasized that the Southeast has always been known for its Republican political culture, unlike societies where authority rests in the central figure. Igbo political philosophy traditionally values consultation, debate, and independent decision-making. According to UNIEC, political choices belong to individual citizens, not political leaders. The organization stressed that neither Senator Umahi nor any other politician possesses the constitutional, moral, or traditional authority to determine the electoral choices of Ndigbo. The council also made it clear that it is not endorsing Peter Obi or opposing President Tinubu. Instead, it described itself as a non-partisan advisory institution committed to protecting democratic values. UNIEC argued that Nigeria's constitution guarantees every citizen the right to vote freely without coercion, intimidation, or undue influence. Therefore, encouraging people to surrender their independent judgment to political leaders contradicts democratic principles. The elder urged politicians to focus on presenting policies, ideas, and achievements rather than attempting to influence voters through personal authority. According to them, elections should be decided by competence, integrity, vision, economic plans, security policies, and commitment to national unity. Interestingly, these disagreements reflect a broader political reality within the Southeast itself. Unlike previous elections, where regional voting patterns appeared relatively unified, the political landscape today is becoming increasingly diverse. Some voters believe continued support for the ruling party offers the best opportunity for sustained federal projects and appointments. Others remain convinced that Peter Obi represents a different style of leadership capable of addressing Nigeria's economic and governance challenges. This means the Southeast may no longer vote as one political bloc. Instead, individual states and communities could make decisions based on local interest, economic realities, and personal convictions. Another important issue raised by this controversy concerns the relationship between infrastructure and projects. Governments often campaign on completed projects. Roads, bridges, railways, and airports become evidence of performance. The Tinubu administration is expected to make infrastructure one of its strongest campaign themes heading into 2027. Opposition parties, however, are likely to argue that infrastructure alone cannot solve Nigeria's broader problems. Issues such as inflation, unemployment, insecurity, the cost of living, exchange rate, instability, and poverty remain central concerns for millions of Nigerians. Consequently, voters may eventually weigh physical infrastructure against economic conditions before making their final decision. This is also the question of political symbolism. Peter Obi remains one of the most influential political figures to emerge from the southeast in recent history. His 2023 presidential campaign transformed Nigeria's participation among many young Nigerians and significantly increased electoral engagement across several regions. For many of his supporters, Umahi's remarks may be interpreted as an attempt to weaken Obi's regional support base. For Tinubu supporters, however, Umahi is simply exercising his democratic right to campaign for the candidate he believes has performed the best. Both arguments exist within the framework of democracy. The ultimate decision, however, rests with the voters as Nigeria gradually moves closer to the 2027 general election. Political campaigns are expected to become more intense. Every region will likely witness competing narratives. The ruling party will point to ongoing projects and continuity. Opposition party will focus on economic hardship, governance reforms, and promises of change. For the Southeast, the debate may increasingly revolve around one fundamental question: should the region reward the current administration for increased infrastructure spending, or should it support an alternative political vision? Only the electorate can answer that question. In a democracy, the power belongs to the people, and ultimately it is the ballot box, not public endorsement or political declarations, that will determine Nigeria's next president. Thank you for watching Nigeria Wave. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you can never miss our in-depth coverage of Nigerian politics, governance, and national affairs. Until next time, thanks for watching.